everybody, welcome to the Comic Game Movie Show. My name is Deshaun, and today I'm here to review The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 4. In this episode, and the season itself, and this episode in particular, has been very, very polarizing. And first of all, up top, something that's been mentioned before a few times now is the low viewership. Now, it's low relative, like it's still... Like it's a weird thing with viewership, right? It's the viewership for the recent season has been lower than any of the other seasons, but still higher than other things, than other shows that have premiered on Disney Plus. It's a weird thing, but in comparison to itself, I don't think it's doing a little less than the Book of Boba Fett. It's doing more than Andor. It's doing much more than Andor, but it's doing less than Boba Fett. It's weird, but it should be doing skyrocketing numbers. Regardless of how you want to look at it, it's not doing the numbers I imagine Disney thought it was going to do. Now, granted, as well, Disney Plus has lost subscribers over the last few months. Like, I think something like a couple million subscribers. Disney Plus has lost a few million subscribers over the last few months. So, that probably also has something to do with it. But also, because from an actual film standpoint, from a technical standpoint, I don't see the show being any different than the last seasons. Like, from an actual, these are some of the CGI, some of the space battles, some of this shit is so movie-like. Like it is a gorgeous looking show. It's high quality show. So, and the story they're telling is not that different. Like, outside of the cameos, I said it before, outside of the cameos, and maybe even that they maybe took too long to come out with the season, I can't really tell you why the season's struggling the way it is, because I think it's just as good as any other Mandalorian season. Maybe not as good, but it's hard to, because if you take out the cameos and whatnot, then you really kind of have to look at it then. But there were so many cameos, and there were so many hints to cameos, and people were all hyped up because they were excited to who could cameo in the next episode and whatnot, that I do think that had a lot to do with the big success of The Mandalorian. Obviously Grogu, but when you remove that, and this season so far is more focused on the Mandalorian aspect. It's focused on the title of it. And this episode is focused on the title, The Mandalorian, and we really get to soak into their culture, because we really haven't gotten, sure, we hear all the time about Din's so-called cult, or whatever you want to call them, which I don't think what do they call the Watch? What were the Children of the Watch? I don't think the Children of the Watch are actually, some people call them cult. I don't see that. People who call the Children of the Watch cult, I've noticed it, because I've noticed it on YouTube, I've noticed it on other reactions. I'm confused about that, because to me, there's nothing sinister about them at all. I see some people bending backwards to try to make the Children of the Watch sinister. I've seen people bending backwards to make the Armorer seem sinister, so that they can make Bo Katan seem like this heroic figure who's gonna show them. No. At the end of the day, the only reason people think that they're potentially evil or they're a cult is because of the helmet thing. Which, to clear this up, because I see so much confusion about the Mandalorian helmet thing. No, you do not have to wear your helmet all the time. You just can't remove it in front of others. But you can remove it in your own privacy, and you can remove it in front of blood relatives or marriage or spouses if you're married to one another. So yes, you can take your helmet off in front of... So yes, you can take your helmet off to have sex with your significant other. So no, you don't... So no, Paz Vizsla wasn't banging his wife with his helmet on. But, like I said, so just to answer some of those questions, because some people are very confused about the helmet thing, which doesn't sound that terrible to me, particularly when your helmet can deflect lightsaber blows. When your helmet's so fucking, strong, it can deflect blaster bolts and lightsaber shots. So, I don't know. I don't mind wearing that helmet all the time. And you can take it off in your privacy. You just have to wear it around people. So to clear that shit up, because people keep talking about that, this episode was fun. That's the best description of this episode. It was fun, great action, more great CGI with these monster actions. Awesome Mandalorians going on a monster hunting quest. Also, Grogu, we learn more about Grogu. Grogu is being shown to be more of a Mandalorian. And it was curious to me about when the show first started, The Mandalorian. I always thought that what was going to end up happening is that, you know, in your mind, you see Din, you see Grogu's a foundling, and in your brain, and people already put out art and sculptures and stuff of Grogu with Mandalorian armor, and we all, in our brains, immediately, like, at least us nerdy dudes kind of went there, immediately like, you know, the girls might have been like, oh, he's so cute, but us guys, we were like, yo, what if Grogu gets Mandalorian armor and he has a fucking lightsaber and fucking Beskar armor? Like, this shit's gonna be nuts. He's got guns and Beskar armor and a lightsaber. Like, that's where my mind immediately went. But of course you're like, no, okay. And then when they introduced the Luke Skywalker of it all, you're like, okay, Grogu's gonna go off. He might be a Jedi or something, but he's not gonna actually be a Mandalorian. And this season, and this episode went, no. Like, Mando is gonna train Grogu in the ways of the man. Like, one by hook or by crook, Grogu will be raised as a Mandalorian, which makes it nuts because Grogu will be one of he's only the second Mandalorian to be Force sensitive, which would put him in a category all by himself. And in my mind, I'm like, you know, Mandalorians are pretty, you know, reclusive. It's nothing that, you know, there's a big possibility that, because one of the big questions that everyone asks, which is the obvious answer, but, you know, whenever they come out with the next sequel trilogy, the next trilogy of Star Wars movies, you're going to really have to answer the question, which is, where was Grogu during the events of the sequel trilogy? Now, we can kind of infer that if Grogu is still considered a child and he's 50, I think the sequel trilogy takes place like, what, 20 years after this or something like that? Like 10, 20 years after this? I can't remember. It's not that long after this. He would still be a child while the events of the sequel trilogy are going down. He would still be a child. Maybe he would just be tapping into talking and shit, but he would still be a kid. He'd at least still be a kid. He might not be a child anymore, but he would be a kid. So he wouldn't be able to really get involved in any of that shit. But by the next time they come out with the next trilogy, and obviously if Grogu was raised as a Mandalorian, it makes sense why the Mandalorians hid him away during these events, why he never got involved, because his rest of his people never got involved. It all makes sense. Him becoming a Mandalorian. But it's just such a cool idea, and like in my mind, just like the rest of us, like I'm spinning through my brain, what the fuck is he gonna look like? And I personally think, and I'm gonna make an entire side video on this, so I'm not gonna harp on it here, that that the next trilogy should be about an adult Grogu. But I digress. This episode was about mainly three things. One, showing more of Mandalorian culture, and Bo Katan being ingratiated into the Children of the Watch and really getting to see it from an inside perspective, because this is the only episode we really got to spend significant time with the group. Like, we really only seen the armor and Pez, Vizsla, and we really haven't gotten to see the group and how they're raised, and we got a glimpse of how Din was raised. And like I said, and most importantly, we got an awesome flashback to Grogu, and we found out who saved him. Now, there is an actor named Ahmed Best who notoriously played Jar Jar Binks. He was a black actor. He played Jar Jar Binks, and like a lot of actors on their prequel trilogy, except for like Ewan McGregor, he got a lot of hate. I mean, he got so much shit for that movie. The man had to go do fucking therapy. The man had to go to therapy for that. Like, he got so many death threats and all kinds of things, and it really fucked with him. It really did. And later on, and like, he came back for this game show playing this Jedi who's like supposed to be like the helper of the young Padawans and whatnot. And he came back on this game show on Disney Plus, and I never watched the game show, but I heard it was actually pretty fun. And he was there, and he came back for that. And now that actor gets redeemed as he is the one who saved Grogu. That's such an amazing redemption story for not only an actor, but for them to do. Like, that's just awesome to me. That would be like if DC ever recast the Riddler and they brought Jesse Eisenberg back to be the DCU version of the Riddler, and he knocked it out of the park, it'd be like, you redeemed yourself. We could all forget about that other shit you did. You know what I mean? I love it when actors get another shot at an apple to show what they could do. It's Ryan Reynolds getting to play Deadpool again to be like, no, I could do this, and this is what I could do. So it's awesome seeing this actor get a redemption, get praise, be able to come back, be the one who saved Grogu. So he's an important figure in this world. And since the flashback didn't end with him dying, he may be in more shit. In fact, who knows? He may be in some animated shit now that he's an actual character, a canon character. Which, by the way, man, that's gotta be so awesome being a canon character in Star Wars. Because when you're a canon character in Star Wars, you live on forever. You know what I mean? Like, you will live on as long as that fandom is living on. Like, you will live on forever. Like, you will always be remembered. You will always be a character in Star Wars. And it's awesome for that actor that his face, his mannerisms, everything about him will be a character in Star Wars going forward in a positive way. So that's awesome. The monster hunt was awesome. It was interesting seeing, now, I can't make heads or tail of Bo Katan. I think if I had to make a prediction about Bo Katan, which that's the thing I'm kind of excited about next week's, like I'm excited about where it's going with these Mandalorians, because either Bo's gonna try to take over. I mean, you got the fucking mythosaur inside on Mandalore, which is like a fucking kaiju level size monster. They teased out there that Moff Gideon is out there. That pirate is still out there. There's a lot happening. There is a lot of plates spinning in this season, and most of it's around Mandalorians. And I'm curious, is Bo gonna help Din, or is Bo gonna try to take over this covert, this, you know, the Children of the Watch, and try to take all Mandalore back? Like, what is gonna happen here? Like, I get the feeling that by the end of this season, like, Din, I think by the end of this season, Din's gonna be the leader. Also, I don't know this for sure, but there is a chance that they're setting up a love story, like a slow romance story. I shouldn't say love story. Love is a little pushing it. Romance story with Din and Bo. Granted, my timeline's mixed up. Isn't Bo like 10 years older than Din? Like, wouldn't she be older than him by like 10, at least 10 years? I would guess. I'm not sure, but I feel like she would be a bit older than him. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm losing it. But I feel like she'd be a bit older than him. But I digress. It does seem like they've been hinting to that a few times. And there could be a reality. And this is just me being a fanboy, where Bo and Din get together, and then they raise Grogu together. So then not only does Din have the saber, but he's with the woman who has royal blood to the throne, and he has the child who, I'm just putting it out there. That could definitely be a thing. But either way, had a fun time with this episode. It was a nice shot, 32 minutes. Bam, we're out. It punched you in the face and it got out. It was like a boxer giving a good jab. Bam, back it out. I'm giving this episode a 9. I'm giving this episode a 9 out of 10 as well. Like I said, I don't get the hate on this show right now. And if people going, oh, well, it's filler. Dude, you guys said the same thing about all the seasons. There's not a single complaint you can have about this season that you didn't have about any other season. So clearly that had nothing to do with the ratings. But anyways, thank you guys for joining the Cameo Movie Show again. See you guys. Sorry. Please like, subscribe, and see you guys in the next one. Thank you guys.